What if the very business you built for freedom is the reason you feel trapped? On today's episode, we are diving into if your business can't run without you, do you really own a business or does the business own you? Stay tuned.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast, where we cut through the noise and bring you real, honest conversations about investing, retirement, and building lasting wealth. No sales pitches, no gimmicks, just everything your financial advisor won't tell you.
I'm Casey Smith. Today I'm joined with Marty Paradise, certified business coach of Paradise Business Coaching, to talk about how to build a business that funds your life, not consumes it. Hey, Marty.
Hey, how you doing, Casey? It's been a while.
Yeah, but this is, I think it's your third time here. We're
I think so.
Episode 330 now for us here on the Wiser Retirement Podcast. So, and you have done you may have done three already.
Three or four probably.
This might be the
yeah.
fourth one. Yeah. So
that's a lot of podcasts. Good for you.
It's a lot of talking. Thank goodness we have a great team. Shauna and William and the whole team here have been, Michaela have been taking turns hosting. So it's been, not all me. Takes a village, you know,
takes a team,
which actually kind of falls into our theme today, right? If your podcast depends on you, is it a really good podcast?
Podcast depends on you. You're probably not doing 330 podcasts.
Right. All right. Well, Marty has worked with some Wiser clients in the past, all of which have been very successful thanks to his advice. And I met Marty many years ago because I was searching for a business consultant. Wanted to be part of the podcast, maybe run some ideas through myself that understood really Michael Gerber's eMyth Revisited. And then I came across the EOS system, Traction, the book Traction, which has a certification program. And then eventually Donald Miller's Business Made Simple. And Marty was certified in all three. I think in the search that I did, you were one of the few people that knew all three systems, which have some similarities.
They do have similarities. And so, I was certified eMyth, certified Business Made Simple, took a lot of the EOS training, and I've used that framework with all the clients or the principles from that. So yes.
I would have written the book Traction.
One time we've never met in person. So.
That's right. Marty's over in Charleston.
Yes,
we're here just north of Atlanta, so we've never actually met in person, but we've done a lot of calls together. But yeah, if I knew that I could write a business book that just referenced other business books, that's essentially what Traction is. It takes the best of the books, puts them all into one. I would have written so many business books by now. But all right, well, let's get started. So Marty, when you start working with clients, what are signs that the business depends on them in order to run?
Well, first of all, this problem is apparent with every single client I talk to. One of the reasons they come to me or is something that all business owners want to change regardless, they would love their business to be less dependent on them. So I think that's the dream of every small business owner, entrepreneur is, how can I make this thing work with less of me and less of my involvement? So how do I know, or what are their signs? In an initial consultation, I'll ask them, how much does your business depend on you? And they kind of look back and I say, just, if you're not there, how does the business work? I'll get, if I ask them to rate on an 0 to 10, I'll get usually an 8+. A lot of times the answer is the business is entirely dependent on them. And that's not where you want to be. And so that's often what times they're looking for help. But signs, my initial sign is how long it can take for someone who's interested in looking for a business coach to schedule a 45-minute intro consultation. If that takes like 2 or 3 weeks, I can just tell that's just a sign. I've never even met them before. I kind of know who I'm dealing with, that this might be a problem for them. Signs, I ask them what they do during the day. And most of the things they come back with are things that employees should be doing versus the owner.
Mhm.
I can sense kind of a state of just overwhelmed because they have to kind of be everything to everyone. Um, Even just how many times they may even get interrupted during a 45-minute call is another sign. Ask questions about their life, last vacation, things they like to do outside of life. Usually, those are all kind of indicators that their business depends on them. So,
So in that case, you think they've built a business. Well, I guess what's the difference between building a business and just building a job?
most businesses should be able to to produce without the owners getting back to the dependency. But a business is something that can kind of work kind of on its own without the owner being there, for everything. And so a job is a high paying. Most business owners start like, I want to create a business, but they end up creating a high paying job or a lower paying job, but they have a job now that has all the the overhead and the people responsibilities, the financial, all that kind of mixed in or whatever. And so it's it's a kind of an interesting kind of, it gets back to the, owner operator type of mentality. But and owning a business that's a job. For example, my business, I'm a one person business, and so I treat my business as a business, but my business depends on me. And so it's just a little bit different way of thinking about it.
We have a lot of clients that are business owners, and
Ah,
there's been a few times that I've had to say, you don't have a business, you just created a job for yourself. You should either sell the business or in some cases shut the business down and just go work for somebody. Especially when it gets bad where they can't make the payroll tax liability,
right,
they're getting in
right.
trouble with the government, and they're disorganized. And in this one particular case, it was a dry cleaning business. And I was like, "Dude, if you just love talking to people and that's what you love about your job, go work the window at someone else's office."
Right.
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 So
Yeah.
so a few times you have to kind of tell them the truth. But I'd say in most, obviously, we run a wealth management firm, so the people that are here are mostly pretty successful. And
Mhm.
it's amazing. We have a couple of new clients now that aren't required to be at their business every day. They're just kind of out doing their thing, and the business runs on its own. They check in for payroll and they check in for uh, handling the finances, but that's about
Sure.
it. And I think that's the dream of any business owner, is to have something run. What I always say is that that's when the business has real value. That's a business that you could actually sell someday. Where if there's a business that relies 100% on you, and if you're not there, if you're not taking care of the relationships of the business is not worth as much.
Right. No one wants to buy another job. No
Right.
one wants to get back to
Yeah.
whether you have a business or no one wants to buy a job. Um,
So what do you think is the root of that? Why does that happen to business owners? I mean, in the E Myth book, they say they have an entrepreneurial seizure, and then they become a great technician, but they never become a manager. Do you think it's systems, it's leadership, or it's just a mindset? Like you got to do everything yourself mindset, can't delegate. Because initially, when you start a business, you are everything, and then
you are.
you grow people, right? You have to grow out of
Mhm.
that, right? So,
Mhm.
do you think
I
there's?
think it gets down to kind of you referencing kind of E Myth calls it the entrepreneurial seizure. And the premise of that book is, you know, most businesses start as technicians who then go to build the business. So, dentists start dental practices, CPAs start, tax advisory firms,
Right.
pilots like you, Casey, pilots start wealth management firms. But the
I don't know
idea
about that.
is the idea is they're good at a technical skill. And then there's a time where they're like, I'm going to create a business. And early on, the business relies on their technical skill. Their value in what they do is very much tied into that technical work. Usually they're the best at it. They're the the authority at it. But where they get trapped is they continue doing that technical work, the tactical work that other people should in the business should be doing. And if they just stay in the middle of that the whole time, the business isn't going to scale, business isn't going to grow. And business gets complex because they're the everything depends on that business owner. So that technical work, it's a big shift, and eventually that shift needs to be made. I have a client I've been working with for 9 years. He's a civil engineering firm. But back when we started, yeah, every Wednesday night, I'd look at his time logs. Every Wednesday night, he's approving, stamping all these plans and just doing the work. And probably for the last 5 years, he probably couldn't even do a civil engineer design because he's got a whole team doing that. So it's kind of a good example of how you start doing the technical work and then you move from doing the higher value add strategic work, which that's a journey every business owner needs to make. I'm sure you've made the same journey yourself.
Do you find that most people you work with are willing to make that journey, or do you find that some just aren't willing to let go and they're kind of stuck in their ways?
It's challenging. First of all, there's kind of a mindset that how could possibly anyone do this better than I can? And so if you're stuck with that mindset, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to think about investing in systems and delegating responsibilities and not being the only person there. But they get stuck in that. I guess it's kind of like a mindset, and then they just eventually just need to, if they're not going to make those changes, they're going to have a business that's dependent on them, which we already talked about. That's not what most people want.
I think that's where aviation helped me, in the fact that you have one airplane type and anybody who's qualified can get in and fly it, but it's a crew, right? So how's it that a captain and a first officer don't know each other, never met each other, can hop in and fly the airplane the same way as all the other people, right? And so it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a repeatable process. And so that's what we built at our firm, were a lot of repeatable processes. There's almost 100 of them that live inside our software. So if somebody wants a withdrawal, or someone wants to go through the financial planning process, that checklist, it's a checklist of items that are done over the course of the 3 meetings or 4 meetings, however many it takes. So I think for a lot of business owners, what is your process? What is your repeatable process? I had a professor in college one time, used to call it in my operations class, I think he called it mistake proofing. How do we mistake proof our processes? Or how do we manage to have the same quality every single time? And then who's accountable if it's not the right quality? So I think those are probably good takeaways from a business owner perspective, is you should be able to repeat what you do over and over again. Otherwise, you just have a business that you make a good living at. You need to be saving for your own retirement, but the business itself probably doesn't have value. But if you can make it not about you, your business now has value, and you can sell it hopefully for good money, and it changes your life and future generations' lives potentially. So what do you think the first mindset shift is that an owner needs to make to start making their business less about them?
We talked a little bit about that, but it is a mindset shift, and it's a mindset shift about kind of just even believing that they need to kind of eventually kind of get out of the tactical or the technical. So even just that alone, mindset shift is eventually reducing technical or tactical work, doing more strategic work, kind of leading the business, architecting systems, putting in processes kind of in place that are truly needed, and being more of a thinker versus a doer.
Yeah. Is there any one thing that you see in repeatable business or in different businesses are kind of the same, You talked about, the person's so busy they can't take a 45-minute call with you. But once they're in your system, is there like a one go-to thing you'd say, okay, you got to stop doing this?
It's the problems are all the same, but all the owners are different. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The problems are there are largely the same, but the owner, and that's what makes it kind of rewarding what I do, because this isn't just like a B and C type of thing, because you got kind of the owner's own skill, the owner's personality, the owner's mindset in working with the client. But I I always I think getting to kind of your question is that all businesses really operate around kind of major functions. You need, you need to have a kind of a leadership systems of your business established. Need to have financial systems. You need to have kind of management and operational systems. You need to have sales and marketing systems. And you also need systems around different products and services for the business. But all that kind of put together, in most businesses, they start with that kind of common denominator. But then depending on the business, it gets different, especially different types of business. It takes a little bit more detail and more nuance on the actual business. But you kind of start off with the overall frame like that and drill down from there. But yeah, you have 100 systems.
Well, I would say 100 systems, 100 workflows. So they're centered around client client needs, whether it be financial planning, whether that be withdrawals or deposits, even just hiring. We have 18 people here now, so hiring a person, we've gotten better at having an onboarding workflow, because different people. We now have an HR person, right, and we have a payroll person, right. So it's there's different people touching the same project, so you have to understand where everyone is, not just yell down the hall, right? So you need to have a software that supports that. That's one of the things that I've seen with in our industry is even with AI, everything's very segmented. There's a different software for every single function, and they don't talk well together, and no one's really solved that yet. And so for us internally, we still have spreadsheets and things that we have to use that are not probably the most efficient, but we need those things to mesh together. And I'm hoping the next maybe 3 or 4 years that we'll start to see some new tech that will marry all these systems. Like our financial planning software won't talk to our estate planning software, so it's double entry, right?
Yeah, interesting.
So it's little things like that. They were always going, if we swapped this software to this software, then they would talk. But the software we'd swap to is inferior to the software we currently have. So do we want it to talk, or do we want it to do the work better? Right. So it's a constant battle, and there's and then there's new all the startups, they work really, really well. And then a few years later, next thing you know, they sold to the big guys in the industry, and then innovation stops. So it's a constant, they call it a tech stack. So our tech stack is constantly being monitored, and this stuff's expensive. It's probably technology is the second biggest line item to payroll.
Wow.
To help us to be working efficiently. I mean, we grow 20 to 30% a year. That's 172 new families just last year. So that's a lot of, that's a lot of planning, right? More so than most firms. So we have to find ways to be efficient, but also very detailed, and then have quality control. So for us, the assembly line, so to speak, is the 3 client meetings, but in the middle, there's senior advisors are looking over plans, even though they're not always in the meetings, especially me, right? I can't be in every single meeting. So I have people here that I would say personnel, people who you hire, Marty, I think that's a big key too, because you can hire a liability. I've done it.
Oh yeah.
You got to hire, as a business owner, you got to hire people that are smarter than you.
Yeah. And you can have all kinds of system, hiring systems, applicant tracking systems, onboarding, doing all the
Yeah.
things, right? But by far, the biggest kind of challenge that all my clients have are just, attracting and developing and kind of keeping good people. By far, that's usually the biggest kind of frustration point. But if you have a business with good leadership, strong, other people on the team, strong systems, kind of a great vision for where the company's going, all these things kind of lead to attracting that and keeping that great employee. But yeah, it's something the people asset is huge, which I also think sometimes might be a surprise for most small business owners as they start growing and scaling their business. Because 5-person company versus a 15 versus
Yeah.
an 18, I think you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big difference. It feels
It's a
different.
huge difference. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. You start having to have, employee manuals and things that you don't really think about when there's 3 or 4 people there,
It also puts a lot more focus on the owner or the leader of the business, and because eventually with that many people, you're becoming obviously less of a doer. You're actually becoming probably less of even a manager, and your business or your function becomes more around leading the organization and inspiring the organization and charting where you're going to go and what you're going to do.
Yeah, Donald Miller has a good template for that. It's Mission Made Simple, part of his online university thing, and I still use that. We update it every year.
Well, you do good.
But it helps us. It just helps us hire too. Does this person
Mhm.
does this person fall into what our identity as a firm is, and helps us sometimes terminate people too because
Mhm.
they don't quite fall into what the identity of the firm is. And
Yeah, he uses key characteristics
yeah,
instead of core values or whatever, but they're
right.
likely the same thing. And then I also love in Miller, he has the key characteristics and the critical 3 or 4 critical actions. These are the
Yep.
things everyone in the firm does every single day. And they could be little things like say thank you.
Right.
I mean, just those little kind of, but it's a grounding thing and it's simple and it kind of helps build culture around a certain set of
Yeah.
factors.
Are you a small business owner? If you're busy running a business, who's making sure your personal finances are on track? Download 5 Reasons Every Small Business Owner Needs a Financial Advisor, a free guide from Wiser Wealth Management. It's your blueprint for helping you keep personal finances secure while growing your business with confidence. Grab your copy at wiserinvestor.com/guides today. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, when you're interviewing people, it's always good to review your key characteristics, just because in wealth management, so many people come into the industry for money themselves. And there's nothing wrong with making money yourselves, but if that's your primary focus, you're not going to be a good fit here at Wiser, because about, I don't know, 10 to 15% of our client base probably really can't afford us, but we're here to help them out of their situation. And I find that the more driven individuals in our industry would never pay attention to that person. Even with a person probably with less than $1 million, they probably wouldn't help them.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure those people don't get into our firm, because that's not the heart of the firm. We have really big clients, right? And that's great. That's what wealth management firms are here to do. But there's also the heart of the firm where it's like if your brother or your sister needed help, well, you're probably going to help them. You're not going to say, "I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're below my threshold." And so that finds it's hard to find people who are already in our industry who can think like that. And so we were very successful with bringing young people out of CFP programs in college and our finance majors that totally get that. And again, that's a whole process that we had to School of Hard Knocks here. We made some wrong hires who weren't good fits, and because ambition is typically rewarded, but sometimes you can have the wrong ambition and
Right.
be on a separate mission inside a firm that you think that would be moving that same direction. But that's where, as leaders, we have to make sure that everybody at the firm understands what we're doing. Sometimes you have to, you have to lead. And I think sometimes business owners forget how to lead because they do get too heads down. Even my own self sometimes. I have great people here who've been with me for 13, 14 years. And occasionally they have to walk into my office and say, hey, don't forget about this, or, hey, this is happening. And then I can nip it in the bud, and say, hey, let's go back to our mission is here, guys. Let's remember this. So it's tough. It's tough, but most business owners think that someday they could sell their business and they can walk away into the sunset and retire. And one of the reasons I want to do this podcast with you is to help them understand that your business doesn't have as much value if you're in there getting your hands dirty every single day. Like, you have to be able to create a business that can run. It doesn't have to run completely on its own. You can still be a relationship person, but you need to have a business that can run on its own, even for your own health. Quite honestly, I've seen a lot of business owners have very poor health in their older years because they just burnt the candle at both ends of the stick for so long that there's just nothing left.
Right. That's interesting. And this might surprise you. Well, if you read the E-Myth, this probably won't. But one of the kind of important lessons or things, the first time I read that book is, before you start going to build a business, ask those important life questions. So I was like, hey, first piece of advice is, like, when you're thinking about starting a small business, or kind of if you're in a small business, is to really take some time to say, hey, what do I want my life to look like over the next 3 to 5 years? And that's some soul searching and some, it is writing down. And then there's the follow-on question of what do I want my business to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? Because the fundamental mistake, kind of what you're talking about, the people who have burnt the candle on both ends, is that your business should serve your business should serve your life. Your life shouldn't serve your business. And that sounds very straightforward and simple, but that is so true. And I see that all the time. And it's somewhat painful sometimes too. So,
yeah, I think I see that. I could see that with, well, I don't know if I've seen it with my clients, but just growing up, being around other business owners, there's typically second marriages, third marriages. There's kids that are pretty disconnected from either mom or dad because the business always came first.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. I've made sure to try to make sure that my kids feel like that I can always be there when they need something. And I think I do that. I'm so conscious of that. I lean more toward making sure I'm at activities and things of that nature and supporting them in what they do. But the business also provides for me to support them and what they do. So it's a two-way street. If I have to take a call on the beach, I've been known to say, you're on this beach because I took this call. Right. And I think the 1 week a year I truly get to rest my brain is probably between Christmas and New Year's, because no one needs me during that time period, right? Unfortunately, it's the world's most expensive time to travel, but that is kind of 15 days or maybe a little less than that I feel like that I can truly be off the clock. But I think all business owners should probably feel that way, but I think really it comes down to, I think we've heard this from other people, coaches in our industry, but people, processes, and profits, right? The 3 Ps. We got to hire the right people. If we don't have the right people, we need to come up with a formula on how we interview, or a system on how we interview people. What are we looking for? We have to hire very slow, find the right person. If we have a person that is not cutting it, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, over the years, I've been doing this for 26 years. There have been times when I didn't want to come to work because an individual was just not performing. And I'm just like, oh, I have to go deal with this today. And then I would stay home one day and then I'd go, oh, right. like, I have the option. I can handle this. Like, I
Yeah.
can take care of this situation. The other people who work with me don't have that authority. So I need to go in there and take care of this situation. And the 2 times that has happened, the person wasn't happy here either. You just got to kind of, have that hard conversation, cut them loose and go find the right person.
Why was that so hard for you?
Well, I think my nature, I avoid confrontation. I'm a people pleaser, right? Which is why we have such a high service business, is I want to make people happy.
Okay.
But when someone joins your firm, it's another family member. It's someone else that I proudly get to feed because they're helping our firm, right?
Right.
And so in a couple of cases, for me, it was my fault that they got hired here.
Okay.
I didn't have the right process. I shouldn't have hired them. I took it on me, and I gave them a good severance to go find something else. In my conscience, that's what the solution was. Like, well, I don't want them here. They're causing a culture change, which is not good. And so we should probably part ways, but I'll give them a little bit of a runway to go find the next thing. Some people may find that it's easier to fire people. It's not something that I necessarily enjoy doing, because you're affecting someone's family and someone's life. So
exactly,
that's why you want to hire them, have a process in place. I think there's a book I read. The title is Who.
I've seen that one. I've not read.
I modeled a lot after that. It's a little harder to hire college people with the premises in the Who, because they just don't have any work history. There's not a whole lot of people you can call and say, how was this person in this situation? One thing I have kind of learned is that people that badmouth their prior bosses and their prior establishments will come to new establishments to be fine for maybe a year or two, but then eventually they start bad mouthing the new establishment too. They're just negative people. And so that's a sign that I've picked up on in some interviews is if they can't be professional in the interview, then maybe,
what's going to happen 2 years, 6 months, year, 2 years down the line. And certainly you don't want that with clients either, because you're client facing. Most of your team is client facing.
A lot of us are, not everybody. Also people like the whole drama thing. So our office is mostly women. It's just kind of happened that way. It's not something I set out to do necessarily, but people think, oh, there must be a lot of drama. And there's really not. We did have a couple over the years that brought some drama with them, and didn't really know it until they were gone. After they left, we were kind of like, oh wow, this place is so peaceful. We thought it was okay before, but this is even better, But the airline pilots who are listening, if there are any listening to this episode, they'll know what I mean. When you're a first officer and you walk in, you sit in the cockpit and you meet the captain for a first time, and he goes, "Hey, I do everything by the book." Meaning that that just means he's gonna fly the airplane just as the company is instructed. We all do little things a little differently. No, nothing crazy. And anytime that someone would say that, you immediately go, okay, this guy's not by the book. Like anytime they say that, this guy is you're going to be reeling him in the whole time. It's the same way with drama. It's like, I'm not drama at all. I don't like drama. I've learned this. My daughter rides horses. I've learned this in the barn life too. Anytime a mom says, I hate drama, I'm not drama at all. She's the cause of the drama 99% of the time. So same way with employees. If I'm not drama,
we talked about this in the past, like with our horses daughters who are into horses, like there's drama all around horses.
There is. Horses and drama definitely go together, especially with horse moms. But anytime I'm interviewing someone, they're like, I'm not drama. I just don't like drama. In my mind, I always go back, but maybe you are the problem. Maybe you're the problem, but getting the right people, finding the right skill sets. One thing that eMyth talks about is building out an org chart. Let's build out an org chart, even though you can't afford necessarily to hire every single position. Build out an org chart as to what you want your company to look like over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you have a vision of where you need to hire. And initially what you're doing is you're circling multiple jobs. Like this person might do these 4 jobs and this person might do these 2 jobs. And then as the company grows, you know exactly how to split out jobs. So if a person's at capacity, you say, okay, I'm taking these two things away from you, and I'm going to hire a new person to do just those two things. And that's slowly how you scale.
Right.
I've had to update that really a lot because my org chart from when I first written one looks nothing like it is today because we've grown so fast that the org chart keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Right.
You actually need to kind of creating a picture of how you want what you want your business to look like and act like and perform like. A key piece of that is just, what's our org chart today? It might have four names in it, but they're in 8 different boxes. Just that's what it looks like today. What could it look like a year from now?
Yeah.
2 years from now and 3 years from now. But you having that organizational strategy or picture of, kind of how you line up people and positions. And there is it gets confusing because, the owner typically is in box 1, box 2, box 3.
Yeah.
And eventually that just owner gets into maybe 1 box instead of 4 boxes and just thinking about who kind of does what. And there's another accompanying process after we do that I do with every client, but you just have to get clear who does what. And so, roles and responsibilities. I don't necessarily use that term, but it's basically the same thing. But just what's this position's highest level result? What's the work they do? Which are the standards by which they do it? But just a lot of clients will have kind of some glorified job descriptions that might be ancient or they've pulled from the internet or whatever they've done. But like doing that, really that thinking about that work of what's this position? Who are they accountable to? What's the result? What is the work they do and the standards by which they do it for their role is absolutely key.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense. And that makes it clear to them as to what their job role is. We also do a career progression plan. So when they come in, so I do review meetings every 3 months. So every 3 months, an employee sits down and we get to have a conversation of really it's for them. What are you happy about? What are you not happy about? What are things that we could be changing here? Do you like coming to work here still? These are all important things to me. I want to know that you enjoy driving in every morning, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, for the young people, it's say, okay, this is where you are today. This is where you want to go. And this is your career progression. You're going to get the CFP next. And after CFP, you're going to focus on specializing in tax and estate. And then after that, you're going to take on these clients. And so it makes it very clear, as opposed to more merit-based system where it's just like, oh, you get it if you get it. And if you self-study and figure this stuff out and you see that you should always make yourself useful as an employee. You always should find ways to improve, but some people don't do that naturally. And so this is like a roadmap for them. So I think that's important on the people part, that there's expectations.
I'm impressed you have an HR manager with 18 employees. That's actually a testament to what you believe in developing young people and leveling in career progression, because about 30 is usually where most companies maybe make that jump to get in, bring in an HR director or chief people officer. My wife, that's what my wife does. That's what she calls herself, a chief people officer.
Yeah, she's
part-time. $1 billion company, but anyway.
Yeah, she's part-time.
Okay.
We find that we do a lot of things earlier, and it's really because everything kind of settled in on one person, and that one person's overwhelmed. So where I took everything off of me, I put it on one person, and that was fine. But then that one person gets overwhelmed. You have to start breaking things out, right?
Okay.
So that's what we're going through right now is compliance and HR, marketing. These are all things that typically firms my size don't quite have yet. But because we're growing so fast, we need to have that. We're really 2 firms in one. We have the traditional planning and assets management side, which is how everyone thinks of wealth management. But then the other side of the business is more one-time plans. So that
Right.
and so the one-time plan business can be a bit demanding at times. And so that's why we carry a little more people. It doesn't really show up
Okay.
in our
Okay.
industry projections because they don't count that
Okay.
income. That income's not counted
Okay.
as value. It is not valued in our industry. I think it's great for the client. But our industry, they take that revenue and they throw it out when they look at valuations. But anyway, again, that goes back to the heart of the firm and what are we trying to do to help people? And not everyone has $1 million to invest, right? And
Right.
there are
Right.
thousands and thousands of people who need help, who are willing to pay for it, which is kind of the second side of our business. So let's just talk real briefly. We talked about people. We talked about we've talked about processes, I guess, at the very beginning. But then we also got to make money. What is your best tip for a money management system? What have you seen that works really well for business owners?
A money management system. So,
So, Donald Miller has this thing, these open up these separate accounts. I tried that one time and it was so confusing to me. I'm a finance guy and I'm like, I don't understand how this is. It must be for a different type of business than mine.
I think what you're referring to is a kind of a book by Mike Michalowicz, pronounces right, but it's called Profit First. But it's
Oh yeah,
different
yeah.
way of- that's what I think you're referring to.
Yeah,
And
I read that.
John uses that for his business. And actually, I have several clients using modified versions of Profit First, where you take can't explain the whole thing, but it's taking your profit out first and setting up different accounts, setting up different accounts and putting kind of the money away. But the concept is taking your profits first. He's like, he keynotes these conferences. I can guarantee everyone in this room is going to make a profit next year if you follow my system.
I've seen that. Yes.
You take your profit out first because
and you make everything else work. In some sense, that's how we tell people to budget. Not too many people come to a wealth management firm to learn about budgeting. They've done that successfully already. But a lot of times with younger people, I say, just pay yourself first. Just save what you got to save in your 401k and your emergency fund. And then the rest after that, I mean, it matters, but not that much because you've already paid yourself first. But essentially what you're saying is, these are the profit margins that you want. You put those profits into the bank, and then everything else you just have to make work. Like you got to let people go. You let people go. You got to cut out things that don't work, right?
And it gets into like what you should pay yourself, and it's a great book. But I think the overall point is whatever whether it's profit first, you need just all small business owners really just need to. It's probably the second kind of area in a business after leadership is to really get into your financial systems and clean chart of accounts and having someone who you can trust to do your books and making sure you've got the review processes of looking at your numbers and not even just waiting till after the month's close and kind of looking back, but also just tracking. You and I have talked about this before, tracking KPIs, which are tracking your progress day to day or week to week, which is giving you that picture of where's my business going to be, where's my business headed. And so you're always kind of keeping that pulse of your business. So those are some financial systems, but budget. What great. I mean, I started when I first got out of school, I sold accounting software. Just amazing, like how far that's got. That was a while back ago too. But anyway,
just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a great resource. I'd forgotten about that book. So I think in the end, if we want our businesses to be more profitable, we want to de-stress our lives, we have to have systems in place. We have to have the right people. We have to be able to manage the company's resources well, which is all on the leader to do that. And then ultimately, if we want to sell our businesses, that's a whole nother podcast. Business brokers are hard to find, good ones. A lot of these guys are a little slick.
Mhm.
But selling a business that is running more turnkey without you in there every single day is going to have a much higher multiple and many
Absolutely.
more buyers lined up, you know, to be able to buy that business. And that's what could set you free ultimately is being able to reap those benefits from your hard work over all those years. Because
Mhm.
a lot of business owners aren't funding 401k plans. They aren't funding savings because everything's wrapped into their business. And if that's the case, then you need to protect yourself with making sure that you're building things in the correct way. Marty, you're probably one of the best guys to help guide people through that process. Tell me more about your company and how people can get a hold of you.
So the name of my company is Paradise Business Coaching. You can find me on the web. You can also, I think you'll probably put something in the
What's in the show notes?
in the show notes. But I'm Marty at mpparadise.com. But best thing to, if any of your listeners are interested, I love talking. I love talking to small business owners. This is all I do. I came from a big company background. I was 20 years at Microsoft. I've been doing this for 15 years. And I just love working with small business owners. I love just the whole thing of it. And I love talking about small business owners as well as helping them my day-to-day job today. So, and I do really feel lucky that I have a business that serves my life at this point in time. This is what I love to do.
Absolutely. And you're great at it. Marty, we have 3 questions we always ask our guest. Are you ready for these? What's a money mistake you're really glad you made?
Is there a money mistake that you're glad you made?
Weirdly glad you made.
Weirdly glad.
Weirdly glad you made. Yeah.
My brain goes to selling a lot of Microsoft stock options for fractions of what they're worth now. So that's where my brain goes now. But a weird. Okay, I have one. A weird one is 4 years ago, I bought a big Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, which looks like a aircraft jet inside it. So people thought that was kind of weird for me to do. I had friends like, you'll never use this thing. It's expensive. I am not mechanically inclined because they're maintenance heavy. I didn't really know. I've never really been in one before, but that was a kind of something weird. And now I have Starlink high speed internet. My clients get a big kick out of me when I'm in a Walmart parking lot somewhere in Oklahoma or whatever, taking a call.
That's awesome. Well, you're using it, so
I am using it. But so I'm glad I did that. But at first I'm like, this is gonna be a weird mistake. But anyway.
If you could only travel to one place, where would you go, and who are you taking?
I'm into cycling. I would probably go to probably Spain or Portugal.
Oh,
and bring my bike with me. And likely that be a trip I would go with my biking buddies. Maybe
awesome.
maybe my wife joins me at the tail end of the trip. So that's
getting
probably
the
what
Sprinter van there is going to be difficult. But
you can't do that in the Sprinter
van. What's something that you strongly believed 10 years ago that you don't believe anymore?
I was one of those guys that felt everything had to be detailed, I's dotted, complex, planned out in advance. And I guess 10 years later, I just kind of believing more in just keeping things simple and just keeping things simple. And the simpler I can make it for myself or for clients, usually serves me better. And it's something I believe more strongly in, of just kind of keeping things simple.
The KISS system.
KISS system. Yeah. I've spent months doing strategy work at Microsoft. I'm like, all right, I could have spent a week and probably got something just as good from that anyway. So, but keeping things simple, I think, is something I've learned over the years.
Okay.
In my wise old age of 65, I just turned
the big 6'5".
Yeah.
The Sprinter vans make you look younger.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to today's episode.
Yeah, right. Appreciate it. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep you rolling in here. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about Paradise Business Consulting, you can find that in the show notes. And all right, Marty, go help other people conquer the world. I guess you've already conquered it.
All right.
And we'll see you later.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investor advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guests of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.